the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Week, and it was one where I imagine, Maria, you had a whirlwind of a weekend. What was the lead up for this last week for you like?
Thursday is when we first started hearing the name.
Mm-hmm.
The name was being mentioned then. So at that point, you just start looking for anything you could find about Coach Kim Caldwell, and you start crafting a story. So when it happens, you're ready to go. And then you basically have every notification turned on your phone. You're calling people, trying to see if anybody's heard. You also start following people in West Virginia media, because it's been my experience with coaching searches. If it breaks, it tends to break out of their home market.
Yeah.
So you start doing that. And then Saturday, I didn't think they would announce it on Saturday at all. I mean, that's right in the middle of the men's Final Four semifinals. Right. And Saturday's just not a breaking news kind of day. Sunday afternoon, it started getting out that this is coming right now. So everybody get ready. We could sort of see that developing on Twitter. Part of that is the women's championship game was Sunday. You can't have that many reporters and writers in one place and something like this not break. I mean, I'm sure it was being talked about a lot in Cleveland. So that's when you start to realize, all right, this is happening.
Were you surprised it ended up being, because there was a lot of smoke early on that Kim Caldwell might end up being the target for Danny White, and who might end up being the next Tennessee Vols or Lady Vols head coach? Was it kind of a surprise for you that it didn't end up being a smokescreen and it wasn't a more exhaustive, expansive search, because this is the first time they've gone outside the Pat Summitt tree this cycle?
So I saw where some people mentioned that a smokescreen, and you have to realize, covering Lady Vols, we don't do coaching searches. I mean, this is only the second one in the history of the program. So I had no real, and I often said I felt sorry for all the beat writers on the men's side because of all the coaching searches and AD searches they have been through. We were just coasting along on the Lady Vols side. And then you have your first one in 2019, and then 5 years later, you have another one. If you had told me Monday, when Kellie was first let go, that the next coach at Tennessee would come from Marshall, I probably would have been stunned. By the time it got into the end of the week and her name was coming up, then it was like, all right, this may be happening. And I mean, looking at her, this is a big step. Nobody's going to try to sugarcoat that this is a huge step. Looking at her overall record, her philosophy, I can see where she would be attractive if you're trying to do what Danny White is doing. Is it a gamble? Absolutely. It's a big gamble for him, for her. Personally, am I pulling for her? Yes, because I don't want to go through another coaching search. This is plenty. I'm done with coaching searches. Let's just, I don't know how reporters deal with coaching searches. You don't sleep.
Yeah.
You're tracking everything. I do not want any more coaching searches. So let's go.
What, when you look at, I mean, we talked about she's young, and she's like Kellie Harper came in obviously as a champion with Pat Summitt years ago. And she came in with a lot of experience. Like, a lot of people may have had questions about what her ceiling was at Tennessee. I think that was one of the questions of like, how much could she really win at Tennessee versus where she's been previously. But she, like, with Kim though, I think what's most fascinating is it feels like to me, Kellie had more of a high floor where you kind of knew that it would be solid. At worst case scenario with Kellie at UT, with the resources that we have, that what the position that she was walking into, that Tennessee Lady Vols basketball would be solid. I mean, you went back-to-back Sweet 16s. Like, we kind of saw that play out that way. With Kim, it seems like Danny White's more of this is a boom or bust type deal. Do you have that same sentiment where you think we'll know within a couple years if Kim is a home run long-term hire, or if this was just too much too soon for a coach who just became a Division I head coach last year? Like, do you think this will be one of those kind of deals?
It's definitely risky. I like what I've heard so far. I do think people need to be patient. I mean, the roster needed reinforcements before Kellie left.
Yeah.
And the portal is popping, and Tennessee hasn't been, basically during a coaching search, everything is on pause. It's on hold. So she needs to build a roster that can play at this level. Does anyone expect that to happen in the next 2 months? I hope not. I mean, the level she wants to play. I mean, if she can keep the returning players on board and pluck some veterans out of the portal, Tennessee can be competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, there is enough talent on that roster coming back. Jill Spear, Sarah Puckett, Jillian Hollingshed. She's poised for a breakout season. Talasia Cooper. Can Tennessee keep her? Kanaya Boyd, the freshman that enrolled in January, a very good defensive player. So I'll be very curious to see how Tennessee can bolster this roster with what they need and then compete in the SEC. I do think there has to be time. There has to be grace period given to get your arms around this. I mean, even if you had brought in a veteran Power 5 coach, even that coach would still need time to get their arms around it. Tennessee is it's a lot. Tennessee fans are a lot. It is a big job, and I'll be I liked it. The West Virginia attitude, the tone and tenor, the sense of humor. I like it. It's a different sense of humor. The story she told about her grandmother, I mean, cracked me up about telling her 96-year-old grandmother she was going to Knoxville, and then her grandmother said, I have a lot of friends in Knoxville, and then said, but I think they're all dead. So I know. I'm like, that is so West Virginia. If you've got Alexis Hornbuckle's from West Virginia, has one of the most deadpan sense of humors you'll ever. It's a different Mary Ostrowski, a famous Lady Vol from West Virginia. It is a different breed of person, and it's tough. That's a tough state to grow up in. It is so cold.
Yeah.
And I traveled there for her homecoming game. I'm like, boy, this is beautiful. And then I got out of the car and I thought I was going to die.
Yeah. It's like, it's not for me. That's funny. Do you think, so it sounds like she might have like the kind of, like, it's still really early. We've just seen early impressions in the press conference and little things, but it does seem like she has the kind of demeanor that will make it.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.